Okay, welcome back. So we're going to get started on editing campgrounds. So this is a little bit of review from the REST unit where we made that blog app with semantic UI, but we're going to add some new concepts on top of that as well, in particular when we get to comments. To start though, we're working on editing campgrounds so that when I go to the campground show page, first off to start the server, I should be able to see a button that says edit. I can click that edit button, takes me to a form, I fill it out, that form submits to the update campground route, and then that will redirect me back to the show page and we should see those changes. And anyone can do this to start. No permissions, no authorization. We'll talk about what that means in just a few videos once we cover deleting campgrounds as well. Great, so let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is add in method override. And I'm gonna pull up the RESTful routing chart that I made just so that we can remind ourselves the routes that we need. So let me just add this as another file in the same window. Remember that edit is /campgrounds/id/edit, and update is /campgrounds/id as a put request. So we need method override for that put request. So we can start there, npm install method-override. And I mentioned this in the last video, but just to remind you, I'm working in v10, so it's a new version. Okay, method override -- save. Make sure that works. While that's going on, let me close this down, and we'll open up app.js. And we'll also open up campground.js routes. And we're going to add a spot in after show for edit campground route, and another one for update campground route. And if you're forgetting why we need both of them, you can review that RESTful routes video, or that unit. We went into a lot of detail, but again, it's just we need a form on edit, and the form has to submit somewhere, which is update. Okay, so inside our app.js, let's now configure it to use method override. So we first need to require it, so that's going to be method override. We can call it whatever we want, of course, but this matters, method-override. And then we have to do an app.use method override, and then we have to tell it what to look for. And we want underscore method. That's the conventional thing that you'll see all the time. I think that's actually what they recommend on the method override documentation. So underscore method. Great. Now we're going to actually take a step back and work on the edit route so that we can get the form to show. So let's start there in our campground.js routes. The edit route is a get request, and rather than app, we're actually working on router, as you can see. So router.get / and we don't need to say campgrounds/id/edit, because remember in our app.js, where we're requiring the routes right here, we're adding all of the campground routes after /campgrounds, so we don't need that. So we just need /id/edit, and then our request and our response and the callback. And as always, let's do a res.send edit campground route, and just make sure we see that. Okay, let's start things up. Make sure we don't have any problems. Let's refresh. And then just add on /edit. Great, we see edit campground route. That's all we needed. Now let's go back and actually render a form. So res.render, and it needs to be campgrounds, which is our views directory here, /edit, which doesn't exist yet. So let's make that file now. So we want to do a touch views /campgrounds/edit.ejs, and then C9 that file. Again, tab completion is your friend there. And we'll start simple with just edit form, and then let's add in another line, just paragraph, form goes here, just so that we know for sure we're getting the right HTML. Start the server again, refresh, and we see our template. Great. So now we're going to add a form here, and rather than creating our own form from scratch, I'm going to take the new form for Campground, which is right here, and copy this over because it's really similar to what we need. So really the only difference between new and edit is where the form is going, that's one difference, and the type of request that we're making. So let's start by specifying the action. And we can't do what we need to do just yet because it needs to be campground / an ID, like something like that, / edit. But we need to get that ID. And right now, we don't have the particular campground that we're editing. So inside that edit route, not only do we render a template, but we need to pass in a campground that we're editing. And we haven't found that campground yet. But I'm going to give it a variable named found campground that doesn't exist. You can see we're getting complaints from Cloud9. Now we need to do a campground.findById, and then the ID is right here, request.params.id, and then our callback, error, and otherwise we'll call it found campground. Just like that. If there's an error, let's do a res.redirect, and we'll just go back to /campgrounds. Otherwise, we'll render the edit form and pass in found campground under the name campground. Great. Now inside of our template, we'll use campground to set up the link for our update route. So it's campground._ID EJS. So this is the value of the campground's ID, the campground that we're passing to this template, /edit. And then the other tricky thing is that, remember, this needs to be a put request that we're making. And to do that, we actually have to send $_method equals put. And then we leave method as post. So that's one change we'll make. We'll also update what we say here. So we'll do edit and then the name of the campground, campground.name. And let's see what we get. So if we go restart, refresh the page, we get edit Desert High, that's the name of the campground, and we're close. We have a form. It will submit. If I click submit though, we don't have the route set up. So it's telling me cannot put /campgrounds. But to start, let's fill in the data here so that when I edit a campground, I see the data that I'm editing. I don't have to type it all from scratch. So that's simple. If you remember back to the first video on edit and update with the blog site, rather than giving it a placeholder, we're going to give it a value. And the value just needs to be campground and whatever the property is. So campground.name, and I'll copy this down for the image URL. So campground.image, and then finally campground.description. Make sure I spelled that right. So remember, what we're doing is looking up a campground in the route based off of the ID, then rendering this template, and if I refresh, you'll see that we're taking the data we found from our find by ID, passing that campground to the template, and then displaying the information as the inputs values. So we have that done now. Now we need to work on when I actually submit this. So let's change this so we see some changes, add some extra symbols. I hit submit, and of course I have this problem where we don't have the update route. So let's do that next. We can close out of our new, I'll keep edit open for a little bit, but we need to add in our update route, which is just going to be a router.put. And if you forget what it is, update is a put request to /campgrounds/ID, just like the show page, except it's a put request, not a get request. So /:ID, and that's it. Request and response. And then we save. And inside of here, what we need to do, remember, is we need to find and update the correct campground, and then redirect somewhere. Usually the show page is what makes sense. Once you update an item, you don't want to just go back to the whole list of campgrounds, but you want to see your changes actually on the show page. So we'll begin with finding and updating, which we could do separately. You could do a find by ID and then do an update afterwards. But remember Mongoose has that nice combination, which is campground.update dot find by ID and update. And it takes in a few arguments. The first one is what we're finding, what ID we're looking for, which is just request.params.id from right here. Next is the data that we want to update. And if we look at our form, our data is name, image, and description. So what we could do is build a new object in here that looks like var data equals, and then we'd say name is request.body.name, image is request.body.image, but that's a little bit of a pain. And I've shown this to you before. What we can do is wrap them all together inside of Campground, or whatever we want to call it. But I'll do Campground. I'll just copy this down here and here, add the closing bracket. Now we've grouped these three things together. So if I access request.body.campground, I now get name, image, and description all nested inside of a single object. So all I have to do now is pass in request.body.campground, just like that, and then my callback with error, and then we'll call it updated campground. For now, if there's an error, we'll just do our standard, not very usable, but an easy fix for now is just to redirect back to campgrounds. Once we implement flash messages, we'll be able to specify what the problem is, and we can redirect somewhere else that makes a little more sense. But we won't really have any cause for an error just yet, unless our database is turned off or something. And then, if it works, what we'll do is res.redirect to the show page, which needs to be /campgrounds, and the ID here, which we need to add in with a plus sign. And we have a few ways of getting that ID. We could do updated campground._ID, or we can do request.params.id. That's what we have right here in this route. And we'll save. Now let's see what happens if I restart the server. Go back to the edit form, refresh, add in some noticeable data here, submit, and we have a small issue, which is our route is still not quite working. And it's actually that our route works fine, it's the form is submitting to the wrong place. Notice our put request is campground/ID/edit. We don't want that /edit. That's supposed to be the form has /edit, but where the form submits is supposed to be campground/ID as a put request. So we need to get rid of this. Now if we try that again, refresh, add some data in, submit, it works. It updated the campground, it found it first, then updated it, and then redirected me back to the show page, and I see my changes. The last thing that we'll do in this video is add in a button that says edit. So I can click on that button and go to that edit page without having to type /edit manually. So that's simple. It's just a link that needs to go to this route, and we'll do that on the show page. So campground show. We'll do it just underneath everything else to start. So inside of the image responsive caption full, not in the comment section, but inside of the column medium 9, inside the thumbnail, after our submitted by, we'll just add in a button, which will be an anchor tag. href needs to be /campgrounds/ and then the ID with EJS campground._ID, and then we need /edit. And then we'll just have the text be edit, but we also need a class to make it look a little nicer with Bootstrap. And we'll just do btn, and I think a color that might make sense might be warning rather than danger. We'll reserve danger for the delete button. So let's take a look now. If I go back, I refresh, we have our edit button, which is actually a link. I click and then get to the edit form. So let's take this back to normal. Submit. Great, so it's working. Let's go back and just update one other one. So we'll go back to /campgrounds, make sure that it works. We'll update Granite or Lily Creek, We'll edit this and change the image to be this image here. Paste that in, submit, and it updates. Perfect. In the next video, we'll focus on deleting campgrounds.